Okay, so here's a brief introduction to DSC. DSC being digital selective calling. So the idea is to be able to contact another radio without having to call them up on channel 16 to reduce the amount of traffic on channel 16, as well as being able to contact a radio that isn't monitoring channel 16 as they are supposed to. So we have two radios here, so let's just assume that this radio on the left wants to contact the radio on the right. At the moment, if he tries to transmit, then the radio on the right does not receive it. So you can then proceed to go into the menu, DSC calls, and he can do an individual call, and we can do a manual input, or you can use the address book. Now I've already put this MMSI number of the other radio in here, so we can select that. So we enter. We want to do a routine call, so we go enter. The suggestion is to ask them to go to channel 8, which we're happy with, so we go enter, and we now call the radio. He's transmitting it, and this radio over here is receiving that call, so we can acknowledge the alarm off. It tells us what the message contains. We can acknowledge that, and we can respond with a number of options. Able to comply, we're happy with that, so we say enter. He's showing us the details, and we say call. So now he's transmitting the acknowledgement, and this radio over here received it. So now we silence the alarm, and it is now on channel 8. So now we can see if we transmit on this radio, then the radio on the right is receiving it. Equally, if we transmit on the radio on the right, then the radio on the left is receiving it. So both radios are able to communicate with each other. And now we can exit it again, and the radio goes back to channel 16, and here it goes back to channel 14 as they were before. Another very useful feature that can be done with DSC is to do position requests. If you want to know where your buddy is, you can go on the menu, scroll up to DSC calls, and you can send a position request. So if you select this, and again we select our buddy radio, which we've got in the address book as AA, and we select enter. We want to send a routine call, so we say enter. Now the radio has been set up to reply automatically, so we simply send call. It's transmitting it. This radio is receiving it and responds automatically, so this one receives the acknowledgement, and here we are. He's just given us the GPS position of the radio. We can now exit from here. If we want to actually navigate to this, then the radio can do that as well. So we go into DSC calls, and we go the received call log, and we go other, and here's a position reply. So if we enter this, we can now click on WP for waypoint, store it as a waypoint, say OK, and now if we go back into the menu and we go down to navigate to the waypoints, you can see over here it shows the waypoint. So we go nav, we want to navigate there, and it's telling us that the range is 0 because it's right next door to it, the bearing, the course over ground, and the speed over ground to get to this radio over here. So that's very useful if you want to know where your buddy is. It'll give you the range immediately. On the topic of waypoints, it's of course always useful to enter your favorite waypoints, which could be race buoys or your launch pad, whatever you need to find the selection where you need to go. Similarly, if we want to let your friends know where you are, you can do a position report. So we go back to menu, DSC calls, and we've got our position report. So we go report, and who do we want to report to? We want to report to our buddy, and we say enter. Routine, we say enter, and we call. And now this radio over here is received the DSC. We go alarm off, and he says that he's received a position report, and if we click on here, then it gives us the GPS coordinates of the buddy radio. The third function that you can do with DSC for navigation is polling. Polling works with bigger radios that are connected to a MFD plotter. So if we go on DSC calls, we can go to polling request. Now if we send a polling request to our buddy radio AA, and we go enter, and we go routine, we say enter, and we call. Position transmitting it on this radio over here. He's receiving the polling request. We say alarm off. He's received the polling request. We acknowledge that, and we call it. So that is received by this radio over here. We switch the alarm off, and now this radio on the left here is polling the radio on the right. Now for a handheld radio like this on its own, that doesn't make much sense. But if this was a larger radio that's connected to a MFD plotter, then the radio on the right would now appear on the plotter as a target for the vessel on the left. So it looks similar to an AIS target. Very useful function. So to be able to use all of these DSC functions effectively, it's very useful to add your buddies in the address book. So we go under DSC settings, and we go over here, and for individual ID we can also add group IDs, but individual ID we go over here, and we can add, and over here we can add the MMSI number of your buddy. It just makes it convenient for you to be able to contact him quickly, to be able to get him onto your working channel, or to send him a position request. Another very useful number to keep on your radio is the MMSI number of Cape Town Radio. Now Cape Town Radio is responsible for the entire sea area around South Africa, from St. Helena Island down to Antarctica and all the way to Mozambique. So it's very good to be able to contact them directly. Cape Town Radio, the MMSI number is very easy. It's a 00 which is the same for all shore stations. Then it's the 601, which is the South African code, and then 0001 being the most important shore station. So that's just good to know, and keep that on your radio. In fact, you can even send them a DSC test call, and they usually respond by sending a polling request. So if you go into DSC calls, and you've got test call over here, and you can go here and you can send a test call to Cape Town Radio. Among the other many useful features, we have a compass, so we can display this. It's now showing us where north is. We can have it with north up, and if we were moving, then it gives us the course over ground and our speed over ground, or we can have it with the north showing, so that we can always orientate ourselves. The radio features many other useful items, among which also a vibrate to clear the water, the backlight, the log favorites, and an MOB function to be able to send it in a quick position. But the most important is probably the one-touch distress button. So here we have a button which is protected by a little flap so that it doesn't get pressed accidentally. If we push this button, the radio automatically sends out a DSC distress call on to all radios, and the DSC distress call includes the GPS position. So thank you for listening. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will answer them in the comments below.